Good afternoon, and welcome to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly. Day 61. We're in the second half of the 120-day plan. Also, happy NHL trade deadline day to those who celebrate. I imagine that's young Gabriel.
Celebrating a Penguins loss last night, 5-1 in person.
You know what hurts me, though, Gibbe, is that he sent us a picture. He was all fired up about it. He was excited, and then you just completely trashed him, trashed the Penguins, broke their spirit, and this is the result as they get smushed.
They had one bad game. Good news, they play for 6 months. They have like 40 games. How many games left they have?
I don't know. Like 20-something.
When I'm over here, I don't have eyes on young Gabriel.
He's over here. He's just hanging out.
There he is. The Collinsworth slide. That was pretty good.
I did go on a little tirade, and then I was like, I do feel bad about that.
I know.
I dropped a lot of description.
Yeah, you did.
It was I was entertaining myself, and then I was like, well, he's probably not entertained by this. He's trying to watch a game. Did you get the shirt? No? Why?
Young Gabriel, who
really?
was the guy on the Jumbotron that you were trying to show us? Or
No, that was Bo.
It was just a guy.
it was just a guy. Yeah. No, I know Bo zoomed in on him. He recognized that he was not likely to be a mall walker from his panache, which was apparent.
I don't know about that. I feel like he could have been.
By the way, I don't know what to make of this situation now. Like, there's so much defensive. Like, Dr. J misrepresented the mall walking story, there's no doubt. But also he was right directionally, like at the core, the essence of it. Because we had people, Vincenzo and Noah, well, not Noah, he was more of a silent partner, but Vincenzo still totally defending it. In fact, making declarative statements that he's going to go there and it's going to work.
He's quite the eligible bachelor.
He
Just
is.
wants to hang out with the people.
Good for him. Good for him.
I don't know what to make of it. I mean, Dr. J led us astray a little bit.
Dr. J did, but we love that. We love Dr. J. All right, coming up on today's program, we're going to hear from Andrew Siciliano, 3:15.
He's going to join live.
Going to join
California.
live. Yeah,
it's lunchtime there.
We're going to find out what he's doing.
Snacking on a wrap.
We're going to hear from New Browns special teams coordinator Brian Storer. We'll do a little mailbag.
Yeah, we got a bunch of questions.
We got
promised
Cynthia
Bobby.
Freeland. We got a bunch of questions. We got a lot of stuff.
You mentioned you want to take calls. Hey, Kev, I didn't tell you that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's right,
Don't
Kev.
worry. You know it.
I'm not afraid. On a Friday in early March before the league year kicks off. When's the league year kickoff? The 11th?
There you go.
Next, what is that? Next.
That's Wednesday, 4
Wednesday?
o'clock, right in the middle of this fine program.
Exciting.
I can hear it in your voice.
Exciting. It is exciting. We've got some news from around the NFL, but also Cleveland Browns news. The first is that and this was reported originally by Jordan Schultz. I know Mary Kay Cabot has talked about it as well. The Browns are processing a salary conversion. This is from Spotrac on DeShaun Watson. If it's the full amount, they'll convert $44.7 million of salary into bonus, clearing $35.76 million in cap space. That updates his cap hit to $44.9 million this year. 2027 will be $86.2 million with a void. Cleveland has updated the contract, allowing a post-6-1 designation next March. If they did that, there would be dead cap of $34.6 million in 2027 and $51.6 million in 2028. Now, there are two ways to look at this. One is obviously you had to do it, get under salary cap, get compliance. Now you've got some room to spend and buttress this roster. The other is, that DeShaun Watson is on the roster this year. It is possible that the Browns then, after this season, could make a change in terms of his status, release him with a post-June 1 designation. I think that some people are interpreting as saying if you have this structure set up that, that DeShaun doesn't really have a chance to be the starting quarterback this year. I think he does, and then if he plays really well, you can just keep him on his contract, is what I think that the Browns would do, because he would be under contract. Now, you also have an opportunity or a situation that could arise where, Shedeur Sanders wins this job or another quarterback's brought in, they win this job, however it ends up, and then the Browns go that route. But I definitely do not think that this means DeShaun Watson is not in the quarterback competition. I believe DeShaun Watson is in the quarterback competition for the Cleveland Browns. So that's where we are. The restructuring, again, it's kicking money down the line. And what that does is it takes his massive 2026 cap hit from $80 million down to $44, roughly. It allows the money to go forward when the salary cap gets bigger. So every year you push that money forward, it becomes a smaller percentage of your salary cap. That's the thought process, and it allows them to be compliant this year. So that's kind of where they are with that. So that's a big news from the Browns. There's a lot of stuff going around the league. Danielle Hunter, who is one of the better pass rushers in the National Football League.
Merry Christmas.
It's good to be Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL for the Houston Texans. They have Danielle Hunter. They have Will Anderson. Hunter used to be on the other side of what used to be in Minnesota, where they had some good pass rushers. He's opposite Zadarius Smith at one point in his career. He's coming off of a season in which he has 15 sacks. Danielle Hunter, other than an injury-shortened 2021 season in which he had 6 sacks, he could be on one of those heaters similar to Miles, where you have consecutive years of 10-plus sacks. But he had that injury season. That year he had 6 sacks, by the way, in 7 games, so he's well on his way. But since 2018, he's gone 14.5 sacks, 14.5 sacks, 6 in 7 games, 10.5 sacks, 16.5, 12, and 15. He's also led the league in tackles for loss during that period. He has been a 5-time Pro Bowler. He has been a 2-time second-team All-Pro. This year, not a Pro Bowler, which is crazy at the age of 31, but was a second-team All-Pro, 15 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, 22 quarterback hits for him. He had 3 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 3 passes defensed as well. So second most sacks in his season. He's had 4 seasons in his career with 14.5 or more. He has had 6 seasons in his career with 12 or more, and he has had 7 double-digit sack seasons in his 10-year career, including, as we said, 6 of the last 7 years, the only exception, that injury-shortened season. So he gets a 1-year contract, fully guaranteed, worth $40 million. That's impressive. That is good for him. Congrats. That's pretty good, to be honest with you. Yeah, pretty good.
That's a nice little generational payday for 1 year's work.
Absolutely. And when you look at, in terms of where he is on the defensive line, that is a pretty darn good payday for him. That's going to put him, Danielle Hunter, 1 year, 40, is going to put him 4th behind Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson, TJ Watt, and just $100,000 ahead of Myles Garrett. They made it 40.1 for that. Myles Garrett's at 40. So that's pretty wild right there. Good for Danielle Hunter, and obviously as guys get paid after the fact, they keep going, keeps going up. The Raiders have released Geno Smith at the start of the league year, freeing up $8 million in cap space. They'll carry an $18.5 dead million hit. Geno Smith played better than the numbers would indicate last year. He is a guy that is viewed, I can tell you this, around the league much better than I would say most people view him now. And he's had a very nice career. Obviously resurrected it when he went to Seattle. Geno Smith, 2-time Pro Bowler. If you look at kind of the last few years here, the picks, not great the last 2 years. Thrown 32 picks, only 40 touchdowns. The 2 years prior to that, though, 50 touchdowns, only 20 picks. Completes a very high percentage of his passes. It's been basically the last, you look at the last 4 years since he's been a full-time starter, 70%, 65%, 70%, 67%. He's got to work on those interceptions. Part of that, though, I think is what was going on in Vegas this season. But he's a guy that there are a lot of people think that he has an opportunity to land somewhere better than people think. Minnesota, Atlanta.
It's been a hell of a career turnaround for him.
Yeah.
If you look at his career from start to now.
Yeah, he didn't really start playing. He was a full-time starter his first 2 years in the league, then not a full-time starter again and that was last year was 2014, then not again until 2022 at the age of 32 when he has his best season there with Seattle and goes back-to-back Pro Bowls.
As the G-Man said, he's just got to stop running into Clint Kubiak.
He does. 28 and 24 as a starter there in Seattle in those years. 69% completion, 76 touchdowns, 36 picks, better than a 2-to-1 ratio. That was really, really good. Last year obviously not as good there in Las Vegas, but Geno Smith is a guy that has an opportunity to go somewhere. And I've seen people even throw his name out for the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, what's the cost?
That's the question. I don't know about that, but there were a lot of people at the Combine that certainly thought he was as attractive a quarterback option as any of these guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see there. But Geno Smith, so that's another name. So when you're thinking about the guys, Malik Willis is a free agent. Geno Smith now free agent. Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent. Tua is going to be a free agent. Kyler Murray is going to be a free agent. So you've got those are the 5 free agent quarterbacks. And then you've got Mac Jones potentially as a trade option. So how many of those guys will be starting next year? We'll see. It's very, very interesting to see how that's all going to play out. The Rams and safety Cam Curl reached an agreement on a 3-year, $36 million deal that will keep him there. You can cross him off the free agent list. I don't think that he's too rich for the Browns as a third safety. Bears will release veteran linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. They now have $44 million in cap space due the Bears following the release of Edmonds and, of course, the trade of DJ Moore. And then the Chargers signing Tyler Biadasz, the center, 3 years, $30 million. I thought he was somebody that potentially could be on the Browns' radar. He is gone now. Were you laughing?
No.
No? Oh, it sounded like you were laughing.
Absolutely not.
So that's a weird one. The Commanders, I wonder why the Commanders let him go, and he got signed up pretty quickly there.
Yeah, I think everything going on in Chicago with their offensive line would tell you, and the Bears getting rid of salary and now $44 million under, something would tell me that they're trying to make a run maybe to keep that offensive line at the level that it was this past year, in spite of everything that's happened
they will,
this
but
week.
they had the surprise retirement at safety. I mean, at center, they're going to have to get a center out there. Could they make a run at Linderbaum?
I think their tackle – didn't one of their tackles get hurt?
I don't think he got hurt, but I know their center retired.
Correct, but I also think one of their tackles got hurt, and he's out till, summer, if not early fall.
Biadasz was a Pro Bowler with the Cowboys in 2022. He started basically 84 games since 2021. He started 17, 16, 16, 15, 16. So he's been a rock. That's a good deal. $10 million a year for him. That's somebody I think the Browns would have been in on, and now he's going to go to the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh there. So that's kind of the news around the league right now. As I said, coming up on the show today, you're going to hear from Andrew Siciliano. You're going to hear from Browns special team coach Brian Storer, our special teams coordinator. The little mailbag. We've got Cynthia Freeland. So we've got a lot going on for you. But when we come back, it's going to be the play-by-play voice of your Cleveland Browns, Andrew Siciliano, joining us here on a Friday. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. It's time now to head out to the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is the voice of your Cleveland Browns. He is a 2025 WAER Hall of Fame inductee at the Syracuse University. He is bringing the orange jacket to reality at the Combine. We spoke with other Syracuse alums. They're excited. They're thrilled. We've even come up with the logo, which is the old orange man holding a microphone. It's great. We love it. He also recently hosted NBC's Gold Zone and was awarded a gold medal for his performance at the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympic Games. Also was awarded a beautiful Ralph Lauren parka that we saw in Indianapolis. Some people are calling him Mr. Olympics. We can't say. They're experts. We should listen to them. He's currently out in wine country, perhaps sipping on a nice Napa cab, or perhaps he's going for donuts. We hear that donuts are very lovely this time of year. People like donuts. He is Andrew Siciliano, and he joins us now. Are you not in wine country? This is what the teleprompter says.
Wine country? I'm at home. I'm at my house.
Well, you're at California.
2 minutes ago.
Do you have wine in your kitchen?
Country?
Do you have wine in your kitchen?
I mean, yes, there's wine in your kitchen, but I haven't cracked a bottle in a while.
Well, we should rectify that. It's Friday. Let's go.
You're hysterical. I'm not.
I can't tell you. I didn't write the wine country part. I can't take credit for it. Who wrote? Was that young Gabriel?
Okay.
Young Gabriel. Why'd you say he's in wine country?
I'm enjoying your coverage of the hockey trade deadline. Big Corey Perry trade here between the Kings and the Lightning. So
how about that? Who got the better of that deal in your estimation?
I have no clue, but it's Corey Perry for a second-round pick. What is a second-round pick worth these days in the NHL draft? I am not the one to ask.
I don't know. Young Gabriel, who won that trade? Here he comes. He just Collinsworth slid into the microphone.
So Perry to the Kings from Tampa for a second-round pick?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Tampa's a contender, so they have – it's weird that they're trading a player away, but that feels like Tampa wins that trade. I mean, a second for Corey Perry in the year of our Lord 2026, that's a steep cost.
It's a steep cost.
Yeah.
Who right now are your top three favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year?
The Central Division.
Well, it's got to be the Avalanche, right?
It's the Central Division. It's the Avalanche, the Stars, and the Wild.
How about it?
They're the three best teams in the league. That division is a gauntlet.
What about the Panthers? Don't they win a lot of Stanley Cups?
Oh, the Panthers having a down year. Everyone's hurt. They're finally having that Stanley Cup hangover. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, actually.
You hate to see it.
No, you don't.
You'd trade back to back. They could miss the playoffs for 5 years. They won a couple of cups.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. By the way, young Siciliano was in Pittsburgh yesterday to take on the Penguins. And Gibbe delighted in their defeat, even though he loves Pittsburgh and the Nachos.
I mean, he had to be there to obviously discuss the Aaron Rodgers hidden meaning Pat McAfee appearance a couple of days ago.
Yeah, lots of hidden meaning in there. Young Gabriel, what was in boots on the ground in Pittsburgh? What's the sense? Is it pro Rodgers? Do they want Rodgers back?
I think there's a healthy divide between pro Rodgers and we just want to see what Will Howard looks like.
Wow. Yeah. No discussion of anybody else. All right. What do you make, Andrew? Let's start with us. Obviously, the big news today, the restructuring of DeShaun Watson's contract. And I've heard some people say that the restructuring and the fact that now there is a path has been cleared, obviously, to get under the cap this year, but also to release him post this season or going into next season with a post June 1st designation, that eliminates him from being in contention for the starting job. I don't see it that way. What do you say?
Yeah, no. This is just accounting. This was in the books already.
Yep.
This is rearranging. It's just rearranging numbers on a spreadsheet to give cap flexibility this year. The new league year, yes, officially begins on Wednesday, as you just said, but really it's noon Eastern on Monday. Noon Eastern this coming Monday.
Oh, baby.
Is when 72 hours from now,
legal
69
tampering
hours from now, is when the window opens, high give a, for teams to do business. So all this is, as every other team is doing, you're the Vikings rearranging money, the Saints rearranging money, which is a tradition truly unlike any other. The Saints, Browns fans think that they rearrange money for dead cap. The Saints have dead cap going, I believe, until the year 3000.
Yeah.
At this point. So this is what all teams are doing, and they're just clearing the deck so they can do deals. And to be clear, DeShaun Watson does not have, the way I understand it, any cash left on this contract beyond 2026. This is about the cap hit.
Yep.
Will he still, quote-unquote, be on your books? Yes, he will. But in terms of we are paying you cash to play football, this is, and somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the last year of that. This is just figuring out how the hit will be felt in years to come. That's all. But remember, in years to come, the cap goes up.
Yep.
So go back to the year 2020. COVID hit. When COVID hit, the cap was roughly 198 in that neighborhood, 198 million, right under the $200 million threshold. In 2021, they pulled the cap back. Obviously, there was a financial hardship from 2020, and the cap fell back to like 185-ish.
Yep.
We're now at 301. So in the span of 5 years, the cap has gone up $120 million. It has gone up 50%. So when people say we're going to keep having to pay, you're not paying DeShaun, but you're going to feel the hit. But the cap, assuming the new broadcast deals come in and assuming the league continues to grow, the cap is going to continue to go up. So while he remains on your books for a couple of years beyond this year, it will, fingers crossed, be a smaller and smaller percentage of the cap.
Correct.
In subsequent years, if that makes sense.
Yep, and you were also correct that this is the end of the cash. He will have received all of his
Correct.
cash. It is purely accounting. One thing that's interesting about this and just popped into my head that we haven't heard about yet, but we did last year, and I don't know if I'm just kind of throwing this out there off the top of my head. I don't know if you've heard anything or if we would or if this is something that we'd hear at the new league year, all of that. But there was that insurance policy on DeShaun Watson, which is supposed to come back as cash to the cap. Will we find that out? I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's ever been talked about publicly in terms of other people in the league, if that's ever happened before. But that would be something I think that we would get to this year's cap, right?
I don't know if it goes to this year or to next.
Okay.
I'm the wrong one to ask about that. That is above my pay grade. But yes, considering he missed all of last season, the way I understand it is that there is a possibility for a cap credit there.
Okay.
What? How big? When does it hit? I'm not certain. I do not believe it is like a full credit for last year's year missed.
Right.
I don't think that's the case. It's not as if
it's a
46
percentage
million
of it, right?
Yeah, $46 million is magically going to appear as a credit. That's not what's going to happen, but I do believe there is a credit.
Yeah. So we'll see, and then we'll keep you posted if we ever, whenever that becomes, if anybody learns of that. We certainly will let you know. Other quarterback news around the league, Raiders, no surprise, releasing Geno Smith. I will say I thought at the Combine, the way that a lot of people talked about Geno Smith and the way that he's regarded around the league being so much ahead of the other free agent quarterbacks surprised me. Does it surprise you? And where do you think Geno Smith could end up?
Geno Smith did not play well last year. However, there are other things going on. We saw the Raiders in person. They're a bad team. Chip Kelly was fired shortly after we saw them in Vegas. It was a mess.
Yep.
It was an utter mess. So both can be true. He played poorly, and he didn't have a good support system around him. And what you heard is accurate. People around the league still think Geno can play a little bit. And I want to go back to the Rodgers thing. We're joking about young Gabriel there. I do have a little bit of a different opinion on Rodgers' appearance on Pat McAfee a couple of days ago. I think there is some reading between the lines here, and I'm not trying to play Aaron Rodgers' psychologist, but consider the timing. It was right after Kyler Murray was cut free, or we found the news. We heard the news that it is going to happen. Right after the Daniel Jones transition tag, which means he can go shop around.
Yep.
Geno Smith is now part of this equation as well, which I have no doubt that Aaron foresaw. And if you listen to what Rodgers said, he praised Pittsburgh. He praised McCarthy. He said that any issues they had in the past, they mended those fences when McCarthy came in 2022 with the Cowboys to Green Bay. He said all the nice things. He also said there's no deadline, and there can't be a deadline because I don't have an offer. And then he praised Will Howard up and down. To me, this was him saying, hey, guys, make me an offer.
Yep.
Not, I haven't decided if I want to play football yet. It's, hey, guys, make me an offer. And Omar Khan last week at the Combine, I was standing right there, said, hey, we've talked to Aaron, and the door is certainly open for him to come back. Okay. To me, this was Aaron saying, well, if you want me to come back,
I need a number.
go ahead.
Right.
Ask me, because he's reading the room and understands that if it's not the Steelers, he may not have another option. There are going to be veteran options for other teams, including the Steelers. And the most interesting thing, well, one of the most interesting things to watch at noon on Monday is, do you hear the Steelers connected to Kyler or Geno?
Yep. Or Malik.
Or Cousins? And their easy way to explain it is, hey, we haven't heard from Aaron. We've got to cover our butts.
Yep.
But maybe it's, we are going to very calmly walk away from Aaron and just say, well, he didn't tell us, so we're going to have to go find someone else. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense, and I think that's going to the quarterbacks obviously are what make this league go around, and I think those are very interesting dominoes. Where does Malik Willis end up? Where does Geno Smith end up? Where does Kyler Murray end up? Where does Tua end up? Where's Kirk Cousins end up? Does anybody trade for Mac Jones? And where does Aaron Rodgers, I guess, end up? I've always assumed he was going to be in Pittsburgh, but maybe that won't be the case.
Maybe they don't want him.
Do you think, or how do you think, or look at this, do you have any kind of connections you're making already on some of these quarterbacks? Any natural spots or, things that you've heard? We know that people are saying, we had it in here. What did some are saying? What do we have on here? Some are saying, some people are calling you Mr. Olympics. I'm calling you Mr. Combine because you were the most popular guy in Indianapolis, bar none. So did he get any scuttlebutt on these things?
Bar none, like William Floyd.
William Floyd, former 49er. That's right. Best fullback in the draft, bar none.
I think Kyler is the most interesting piece here, and there's a lot of revisionist history. Kyler is a heck of an athlete and a heck of a football player. He hasn't played great football recently. There's the curious case of his foot injury last year and shutting him down when they couldn't get a deal done at the deadline. So there's a lot going on there. I think the question teams have to answer is, are we going to get a rejuvenated, I have something to prove Kyler Murray? And if they believe they're going to get that guy, as opposed to the guy who at the end, maybe his last couple of years in Arizona, I think all sides were just kind of ready for it to be over, which Kyler are they going to get? And if they get I'm out to prove the world wrong, former number 1 overall pick, then that's something to get excited about.
Yep.
And where does he go? Does he decide? Because remember, he went to Oklahoma and backed up Baker and waited.
Yeah.
So he has that in his bag. Like, could he go somewhere where he's not the guy?
No.
Like Mac Jones, or remember Sam Darnold went to San Francisco, and I'm just going to take a gap year. Rehab my reputation, and then go kill it next year. I don't think that's like the Rams or anything like that, but Cliff Kingsbury is there. I'm just spitballing ideas.
How
I think
about
the
this?
easiest one for him. Oh, I'm not saying he's going to the Rams, but just like that.
If he does, though, you said it. If he does, though, we'll
he's not
add
going to the
that.
Rams.
Okay.
But sure. I think the Vikings is the most obvious one.
Yep.
People want to put Malik Willis in Miami or Kyler in Miami. Why would either go to a team that is in total teardown mode? I mean, they're not just rebuilding; they are in teardown mode. So I don't get why people are linking quarterbacks to Miami. I think Kyler in Atlanta with Kevin and Tommy.
I think
Reese
that's really
would be
good.
Interesting.
I agree.
That's interesting. He's the first domino.
He is, and I think the biggest. And I think Malik Willis, I like Arizona for Malik Willis, especially if they say, all right, we're going to. Do you believe Marvin Harrison's available?
I don't know if he's available, but I would try to get him.
Same. Yeah, for sure.
I've been saying that one for a while. I was all on team that the Browns should go get DJ Moore as well, but I figured all it would take is a 5. When the Bills gave up a 2, I went, no thanks.
So I said
Like,
this morning.
Christmas.
I was on with Mo Pedman, and I said I think that has throttled the wide receiver trade market.
It has, yeah.
I mean, if we're to believe, and there are multiple people reporting it, that the asking price now for A.J. Brown is a 1 and a 2 and a player,
That's absurd.
Which to me is they're saying, hey, you got
And he's a
DJ
good
Moore for
player.
a 2, then it's got to be more than that. Just like to me, I think it almost makes it. I was sitting here in a dream world where maybe 39 would get Marvin Harrison. I don't think there's any way they would trade him for 39 at this point. If DJ Moore got a 2, and they're paying a ton of money for him.
Yeah, and Marvin's on a rookie contract.
Right.
So, huge difference. I really thought that DJ Moore could have been had for, like, the deal that the Browns gave the Cowboys.
Yeah, for Amari
Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, which in retrospect was robbery. Or the
Louise.
Jerry Jeudy deal, which is even less. I thought you could get DJ Moore for that. If you want to go back, look at the Bears trade. So the Bears trade 3 years ago, this month, for the Panthers, right? For the number 1 overall pick. So Carolina got Bryce Young.
Yep.
Okay. They got their guy. Whether he is the guy remains to be seen, but it's not a total disaster. I know, rigging endorsement. With that pick, or with that trade, the Bears have now turned it into Caleb Williams, because they had the number 1 pick the next year, which was from the Panthers. Caleb Williams, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, Torrey Taylor, Luther Burden, and after 3 years and 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns from DJ Moore, they flip him for a 2
and a 2nd and 26. Yeah, it's an incredible. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
They got 3 years and 3,000 yards. Now, there weren't 3 1,000-yard seasons, but you add them all up. 3 years, 3,000 yards, include the playoffs, 24 touchdowns, and then they get a 2 out of it. And they take 40-plus, if you include the extra money that allegedly the Bills have now kicked in. They got like $55 million off their books.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Absurd.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now they're loaded. They got $44 million under the cap. They're loaded up.
Yeah.
Loaded up. Yeah, I think I think it just makes it really hard to trade for a wide receiver now. I think that trade has kind of throttled that market.
Well, what's Brian Thomas going to cost you? Let's throw that one out.
Why are they going to get rid of Brian Thomas? What don't we know about Brian Thomas?
A lot of the stuff that they have, it's the Rams offense, right? So a lot of the stuff that they have asked him to do, he just doesn't fit. He just doesn't fit.
I mean,
and it hasn't worked.
I get that on some level, but on the other level, you had a guy who was probably the most productive rookie in his class 2 years ago and was awesome. And I like the Monken way. Give me guys with talent, and I'm going to kind of get it going with them. I mean, he had 87, 12, 82, and 10 as a rookie.
I know. We saw him down there in Jacksonville.
They got a bomb against us.
We talked about him all week, and right out of the gate in the first half, he's hitting a deep shot. He didn't score, I don't think, but he get like a 50-yard bomb.
Yes, he did.
The guy can play. I would take a flyer on him.
He's 100%.
But not a number 1 overall, rather. He's a first-round pick. Remember, not from this administration. And also remember that their offense took off, the Jaguars, last year, when they traded for Jacoby Myers, who does all the stuff that Brian Thomas does not.
I'll take
not
Brian
a bad guy,
Thomas.
not a bad player. I would call
right
that.
now. Right now. Yes. That's interesting. That's to me that if you can have 87, 12, 82, and 10, average 14.7 yards catch, which he did this year. And I know he had some problems with the drops this year early on, 100%.
A lot of drops.
I agree with that. But to me, you find a way to make that guy fit in your offense. I mean, this is a first-round pick.
I agree.
I also don't think if I was the Jags, I would never trade with us again. If Andrew Berry called up saying, no, thank you. And we've abused them twice in the last calendar year.
What was the other one?
Which is the one that you're referring to?
Well, there's the
draft trade.
First round.
Yep.
Yeah, what was the other one?
Tyson Campbell.
Oh, Tyson Campbell. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
How can I forget about that? That was a great one.
That's worked out pretty well for us.
But I wouldn't look at that as abuse. I would say it turned out really well for the Browns.
Yes.
And the Jaguars simply didn't think he was a scheme fit, and they wanted him off their books. It was, again, signed by a different administration. Tyson Campbell's a really good player. I'm glad the Browns have him.
Same.
He played
and I miss Greg.
exceptionally
Fine
well,
man.
and he fits in our system 100%.
Yep.
They were playing zone.
Yep.
He didn't fit in their system, and someone else signed him, and they wanted to free up the contract.
Yep.
So they decided to move on.
I still think
Whether or not Greg signs back there, I have no clue.
Yeah. All right.
But it worked out well for the Browns. There's no debating that.
For sure. It's been excellent. But I mean, listen, if they want to move on, he's not a scheme fit either. Sometimes getting rid of, you just want good football players. I think like scheme is, it's important, but you have good football players. I think you want to keep them. So anyway, just me. Anyway.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. So we've got that. We've got those things that we've kind of settled on. By the way, the Chargers signing Tyler Biadasz, who I thought might have been a target for us on the interior of the offensive line, 3 years, $30 million. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they have to rework the middle of their interior O line as well. Center retired, right guard. They're going to cut Mekhi Becton. Is Zion Johnson a free agent? I believe he is, right? Am I wrong? I mean, that's a guy that I would look at for the Browns.
You're absolutely right about that. Yep, he's on the list.
Yeah, I would take a gander at him. My biggest thing, the Texans have released Joe Mixon. I'm just reading stuff coming across my desk right here. I expect them. Did Nick Chubb get a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract?
Nick Chubb, I think, is either way he will be a free agent, even if he.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was just thinking out loud here with the Mixon thing. Where was I? The Browns, I think, are going to sign one free agent offensive lineman. The Titus Howard thing gives them a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, what do you think of that move?
Flexibility. I think for the cost of a 5th-round pick, I'm curious as to what the actual new contract looks like.
Yeah.
I would hesitate to immediately believe all the numbers that are immediately reported. So I would love to see what that real deal looks like. Either way, for a 5th-round pick, for a guy that could play right tackle or potentially right guard. He played left guard as well, and obviously Joel's future is up in the air. Maybe we find something out about that this weekend. The timing indicates we should.
We need to, yeah.
We need to. I thought Titus Howard, for what you gave up, was a very, very savvy move.
All right, let's talk for a second about the quarterbacks here, because we talked a little bit about DeShaun, the restructuring. There was an article in at the Athletic yesterday where they predicted some of the quarterback rooms, and they had ours adding Justin Fields. And I've said some things, take Justin Fields out of it as evaluating him, although I could see how, with some of the stuff that Munkin and Travis Schweitzer would have in from Lamar and their run game in Baltimore, why he would make some sense. But I was of the opinion that if you are going to bring in somebody like Justin Fields, I don't know how beneficial a 3-person quarterback competition is, and I don't know how you would clearly define the roles of those 3, and that it almost feels like it would be too many cooks in the kitchen, with
I agree.
DeShaun and Shador, and we know DeShaun, because of his contract, he can't go anywhere. I liked Shador. I don't necessarily think that he needs to go. I don't want to see him go anywhere, so I don't understand how that would work, bringing in another veteran here.
I agree. And I also agree that if they do choose to do that, which you never know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next 96 hours. But if they do choose to do that, then you have to move somebody else. 3 doesn't work. 3 doesn't work for anybody. So, yeah, I would agree with you. Somebody's probably got to move on if you go get another veteran quarterback. Let's not forget about Dylan. He's still very much in the room.
Yep.
He did start half the season a year ago. So you have 3 in the building right now. Is that tenable? Not sure. I don't know. But that's what you have. It's also good to have a surplus, right?
And I could just see them say, look, Dylan, you're going to be, of those 3, you're going to be 3rd string. They're going to battle it out. He would understand his role, and I think would always be ready and able to go in whenever you needed him, because he's just that kind of a professional.
Look, as much as people like to look back and question the training camp quarterback competition a year ago and the deals that were subsequently made at the end of the preseason and during the regular season, it is nice to have the 3 5s right now, because one of those 5s turned into Titus Howard, and that gives you flexibility to rebuild the offensive line, and you still have 2 5th-round picks. Those 3 5th-round picks were all in the same neighborhood, about 10, 12 picks away from each other. The one you give up is the Raiders pick. It's the Kenny Pickett trade.
Yep.
So I told you last year, we'll trade Kenny Pickett to the Raiders. You get a starting offensive lineman next year who's a former first-round pick. Kenny, although I wish him well, is not going to be a factor at all for the Raiders last season.
Yep.
I think people would have taken that deal.
Absolutely. You certainly would have. There's no question about it. You would have, and it would have made a lot of sense. I know you're referencing Joe Mixon a few minutes ago. Schefter saying they released him. I looked up. Nick Chubb was signed to a 1-year deal. Obviously, they made the trade for David Montgomery, who will be kind of the big complement to Woody Marks there in Houston.
Which is an odd trade, too. Like, I'm a big David Montgomery fan. He immediately gives them a good player this year.
Yep.
He's entering his 8th year. I mean, he's not a young man.
No.
He's entering his 8th season, and you gave up a 4, right?
You gave up, yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting deal.
He's going to be the hammer, though. They were so
course.
frustrated with their goal line performance, and he is still one of the better short yardage running backs in the National Football League, which is, I think, why they make that move. I think if from you never want to put your fantasy hat on. We'll see, obviously, who the Lions bring into that running back room. I'm sure they're going to try to find their version of Kyle Monangai or David Montgomery in the draft at some point. But
that's
Jahmyr,
how you generally win.
Of course. But Jahmyr Gibbs is now the man there.
Oh, of course. Oh, I get it from the Lions' perspective,
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
I'm saying from the Texans' perspective, it was teams are paying a lot.
Yeah.
Like a 4 for an 8th-year running back, a 2 for a wide receiver that he's going to turn 29 before this. I think he turns 29 in a
By the way, they gave a
weeks.
4, a center, Juice Scruggs, and a 7th
Yeah.
for Montgomery.
Yeah. If they decide, hey, Juice Scruggs isn't our guy, so be it. Move on.
Totally.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, but he was a day 2 pick, if memory serves.
Man, how about it? So that's good there. What did you think? Speaking of, I mentioned Travis Schweitzer. All of our coordinators spoke with the media. We'll focus on offense, defense. But what do you think of Travis Schweitzer and what he's going to bring to Todd Monken's staff?
I like Travis. I got to interview him last week as well in Indianapolis. That is up on BPA, the best podcast
the
available.
BPA.
Yours truly and Gibbe.
How about it?
It is now up. Go to clevelandbrowns.com or the Browns YouTube page, wherever you get your Browns content. It is there.
Oh, yeah, you guys were in the hallway. You guys were in that hallway.
We're in the hallway, yeah. We had to step out into the hallway for privacy, which makes no sense. But I like Travis. I like the fact that he's a former offensive lineman.
Yep.
Listen, Todd Monken's calling plays, and we know it's quote-unquote his offense, and Schweitzer was the run game coordinator. But I like the fact that he brings a different perspective. There aren't many offensive line coordinators in the NFL. There's Andy Stanovich up in Green Bay. Obviously, Matt LaFleur is calling plays. There's Clayton Adams in Dallas there. Brian Schottenheimer is calling plays. Andy Reid, if you want to go back to his BYU days, is a former offensive lineman, though he didn't play much. But there aren't many O-linemen as coordinators in this league. So I think it's different. I think when you put it together with Monken, who is a college quarterback, I think it's a good pairing. And personally, I got along with Travis great. I think Northeast Ohio, he's happy to be back, him with his family. I like that one. And Mike Rutenberg, he is everything that we had heard. He's the energy guy. I think he commanded the podium well.
Yes.
For everything that we've heard behind the scenes, the rest of the defensive staff, which is staying, likes Mike Rutenberg as well.
Yep.
So I am all for that, and I'm excited to see what it does with that defense. And Byron Storr, look, you learned under Rich Bisaccia. Hopefully that turns into a good result for the Browns. Obviously, the special teams have been an issue the last couple of years. Let's see what he can do.
Absolutely. I think, and it's amazing. And then Bisaccia kind of surprises and retires the Packers, so they need to go a completely different direction with their special teams coordinator. It's funny, after the Rutenberg presser, Bo Bishop was like, man, Monken's got a type, right? He's got energy football guys. And it's an interesting stuff when you look at all first-time coordinators. Obviously, Todd, first-time head coach, but you've got a lot of senior Dom Capers in there. You've got guys on our defense who have been here for a very, very long time. You've got capable guys, obviously, on the offensive side as well. It's an interesting staff, and the biggest staff we've had in quite some time, 29 guys. One thing, I don't know if you saw this with Rutenberg, I don't know if this made it onto the air or not, but young Gabriel was down there. He did his whole press conference, and he forgot to mention our good friend Jeff Anderson's promotion, and he came back just to give Jeff Anderson his props, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, I did hear that from somebody, and I'm also by the way, happy for Jeff and the promotion. I'm happy that he's back in the fold as well. He got some good work into the East-West Shrine game, coaching down there in Dallas on the field. Caught his mug a couple of times on NFL Network's coverage of that event. So glad he and the rest of the defensive staff is back in the building. I also think the Dom Capers thing can't be overstated. That its significance. I was talking to. Back in Indianapolis at the Combine, a former head coach and a former coordinator, guys that has worn a lot of hats. And I asked him specifically, when you became head coach, how important was it to have, because you're like a play caller and a head coach, how important was it for you to have another head coach on the staff, a guy who has done it before, just to have a second set of eyes? And he said, I couldn't have done it without another head coach on the staff because I'm worried about calling plays, and there's so much stuff in the game management that is new. I'm talking about Todd Monken here as a first-time head coach at the NFL level. Obviously, he's been a college head coach, but there's so many other things where it was great to have another guy there who could keep a tab on things. Clock management, timeouts, just little things, another set of eyes, someone who has been in that chair. So we talk about how important it's going to be for Mike Rutenberg, but I think it's going to be good for Todd Monken as well.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I think if the players are excited, people I've talked to are excited about all of this, and now it's kind of go time. One thing that we're waiting to find out what it means, though, is speaking of in our division, something that Todd Monken brought to, I think, his best seasons in the NFL. Lamar Jackson tweeted out an hour ago, Denzel, boom. What do you make of that? Do you think that's I think that means Linderbaum.
I don't know. I think it could mean something bigger than that.
Jeez.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It's just Lamar doesn't tweet much. I don't know that Lamar is going to tweet a Denzel training day meme for Tyler Linderbaum coming back. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I think it could be something big.
Like, would you?
I can tell you, everyone's
can I have
texting
reckless
about it right
speculation?
now.
Can I have reckless speculation?
The NFL behind the scenes world is all texting about what is Lamar tweeting about. Lamar doesn't tweet very often.
No.
He puts up a lot of Instagram stories that, like his buddies in his backyard, or he does a lot of reposting of Instagram stories of people sending him photos of like their kids in Lamar Jackson jerseys. He doesn't tweet a lot, so he clearly thinks something's coming. We'll see.
Do we get no reckless speculation from you? No potential what you no?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. Diana Rossini had a tweet, though, this morning about the Max Crosby sweepstakes. Maybe he's talking about that.
The Condor with the Ravens. That would be. We don't need that. There enough of them. People, go elsewhere. Other teams, other divisions, other conferences.
What are you giving up? So let's look at Rossini's tweet this morning. Diana tweeted.
While you guys are looking that up, the G-Man has a question that I find fascinating.
Okay.
So we're talking reckless speculation. I mean, what if this boom is, maybe Lamar's headed to Vegas in exchange for the number 1 pick in Max Crosby? Would you do that?
I mean, I was joking about that a couple of days ago. Wouldn't that be an interesting deal? I don't think that's happening in any way, shape, or form. I don't.
What would you do?
It would be fascinating. I have said for weeks now that the Raiders should sign Malik Willis and trade the number 1 overall pick and get a whole bunch of assets and just start plugging in number 1 picks, right? So let's say they could trade down, collect another number 1 this year, another number 1 next year, and just sign a veteran quarterback and collect all these picks. You have so many holes. Now, trading for Lamar Jackson, that would be wild. I don't think that is going to be the case. That is not, I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be a crazy scenario. Here's what Diana tweeted this morning. Max Crosby is drawing serious interest from around the league. The Dallas Cowboys are closely monitoring the situation and remain very interested, while the Baltimore Ravens are also a team to watch. Diana tweeted that this morning. I don't think that Crosby to the Cowboys makes a lot of sense. Now, I think
if they did that, it would be like, why didn't you just pay Micah Parsons?
I think the Cowboys signing a now soon-to-be free agent Trey Hendrickson makes sense.
I mean,
that would be one to watch.
All right, do you think what Danielle Hunter did today sets the floor for Crosby or Trey Hendrickson?
I think a big question for either of those two. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is going to get $40 million. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I do think that the question for anyone doing a Crosby trade is, does Max want to redo his deal? Because he just did it like 18 months ago, but it's been passed like 5 times. So if he's happy playing for, what's he got left? Maybe 65 million, 70 million the next 2 years, then that's cool. Does he need an extension? Let's see. Max this year is playing for, I'm looking at cash.
Cap number cash? Well,
yeah, so he's only owed 60 over the next 2 years, cash. I say only. He obviously got upfront money.
Yep.
He's owed 60 over 2. Danielle Hunter just got 40 for 1. We know Miles is in that neighborhood as well. So does he want 37, 38, 40? What does he want?
Yep. Interesting. I mean, I'd think so. I would think that he would.
You would have to think.
He's earned it.
Or at least a baloney 1 year sweetener. You add a year, you give him, an extra $12 million guaranteed over these next 2, so you make it really 36. I don't know. It's all, again, there's a lot of, excuse me, my voice just cracked there. I was going to burp. There's a lot of cap gymnastics that's going to go on.
Well, yeah. Listen, we're the best at it. If you were at the Gold Zone on cap gymnastics, you'd be handing out awards to the Cleveland Browns. What's on the agenda for the rest of your day?
What do I got? That's a great question. Might go work out.
You know what? That's the best answer. That is the answer that everybody strives for.
These last 2 days have
whatever
been like
I
my
want.
First 2 true off days in 2 months. So
that's a fact, folks. You were in a hotel in Stamford, Connecticut for how long?
Like 3.5 weeks. I'm not complaining.
And then went from there.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem. And I'm not saying you never complain about it. But you love what you do and blessed.
I slept in my own
blessed.
bed 1 day in the month of February. It's the first.
Which was, by the way, a flight from New York to L.A. to sleep in your bed to then get on a flight and go to Indianapolis and beat us into Indianapolis.
I'm not complaining. I don't want anyone to have sympathy. I love my job.
Yeah, I said that. We said that. It's full disclaimer. Gold jackets, orange jackets. Don't complain about the joys of their lives.
I have dinner plans tonight. Someone's got like some group dinner that their friend is throwing, going to something like that, and we'll see.
What type of cuisine?
I don't know. Friend who's like a chef and having a whole bunch of people over at the house. One of those. So I'm like,
that makes me happy. I was talking about today. I think one of the hard things for people today is I read this article, and it's so true. The death of the house party. Like, we are people who went to bazillions of house parties. House parties are great. It's how people meet each other. I think it's a wonderful thing. The death of the house party. Bring back the house party. Make house parties great again. That's my message for 2026.
Death of the House Party sounds like a techno album.
It sounds like it was a banger too. There's no doubt. Yeah,
it's something Young Gabriel's blasting on Spotify right now.
Young Gabriel, and Dr. J need to throw some house parties. We need to get the house parties going. Get all. Oh, you bring your friends. I'll bring my friends. Oh, you bring their. Oh yeah, let's go. And then we mingle.
Let's cut the baloney here. If you were to show up at either of their house parties, you would be the creepy old dad. Okay.
Totally. I'm not invited to their house parties. No way. Absolutely not.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to disagree vehemently with that. I think we're going to be the life of the party.
We would be the life of the party. But
you would be the life of the party, but you'd be double their age.
There's be young people in the corners being like, what is wrong with these guys?
Like, I'm here to party.
Yeah, look. Yeah.
Someone's going to go, who invited their dad?
Here comes young Gabriel.
You also have to remember that all of my friends are like diehard Browns fans, and if they saw Nathan Zagura at a house party, they'd be like, this is awesome.
This is awesome.
He's the guy from
this is awesome.
He's the guy from the grocery store TV commercial.
That's right.
He found
the perfect pumpkin. That's right, the perfect pumpkin. You remember that time when you found the perfect pumpkin? That was awesome.
Awesome.
R.I.P. Chris Farley. Siciliano, this was great. Thank you so much. You are an absolute legend. The orange jackets, I'm told, are in production. I'm very excited about it. I know you are too.
I texted my buddy Jeff Darlington, who just got honored at the University of Florida, his alma mater, yesterday. I'm like, we need to get you now a blue jacket.
There you go.
For the Gators.
See?
There you go.
Yes. And it's a very particular blue there. Gator holding the microphone. Boom. We're people helping people. It's a beautiful thing to do in March right before the new league year. Andrew Siciliano, enjoy your dinner party. Have a blast, brother.
Have a great weekend, friends.
All right. You too. All right. Siciliano. What an hour right there. That's what we call a power hour. Doing, by the way, the Lord's work. Thank you, Andrew Siciliano, for giving us so much of your time. Hour number 2 coming up. Defensive coordinator Brian Storr. We've got Cynthia Freeland. We've got a lot of stuff. We're going to sell some products as well, I would imagine, in this hour, because that's what we got to do to keep the lights on. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hour number 2, Cleveland Browns Daily. For the ultimate Browns gear, head to the Browns Pro Shop, a Fanatics experience right next to Huntington Bank Field. Jerseys, hats, hoodies, collectibles, and exclusive merch you won't find anywhere else. Shop in-store or online at shop.clevelandbrowns.com. The Browns Pro Shop, official merchandise for true Browns fans. Time now to head to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Browns Special Teams Coordinator Byron Storer from his availability on Wednesday.
Do you want to introduce me, or did you already said? Okay. All right. Well, hey, I just want to say, first off, is I'm so excited to be here in Cleveland. Every coach I've talked to that I've come around has spoken extremely highly of Cleveland and their experience here. They ranked it as one of their top spots, and that's no BS. So, and the Browns organization, I'm truly honored and privileged to be in this part of this organization and to coach in this organization. I'm really excited about the players. There's guys that I am going to work with that I'm pretty excited about, and it's Andre Schmidt and Rex Sonahara and guys like Winston Reed and Nate Watson and Easton Macarena Arnold and Donovan McMillan and Chris Edmonds and Aiden Huntington and Malachi Corley and Gage Larverton and I don't think I'm forgetting any of them, but those are some of the guys I'm pumped up about. The coaching staff, I get a chance to learn from a lot of new faces. I don't have a lot of experience with the guys on staff, so it's an opportunity for me to learn from those guys, so that pumps me up. And then I also want to mention my assistant, Keith Tandy. Super excited to work with Keith. He played for 7 years in the NFL, and he's going on his 7th year coaching. So I'm pretty excited about him and having him with me. He's a huge resource for me. He's been in multiple different systems. So I'm fired up about Keith. And then the fan base. Now, I've been around town a little bit and learning the areas, and I get a feeling from the people I've talked to that the fan base here is pretty special. And I'm coming from Green Bay Packers, and the fans are pretty special there too. But this is a different feel for me. I think the dog pound now is pretty strong here. I can feel it already. But really, the next thing I want to say is just thank you to Todd Monken, Andrew Berry, the Haslam family. For them to have the trust and faith in me to run their special teams, that means a lot to me. And lastly, but not least, I also want to thank my wife, Ashley, and my 3 daughters, Benny, Lulu, and Gal, for their unconditional love and support. So with that, any questions you have for me, I'll take them at this time.
What do you see as the immediate pressing needs for you guys to get special teams turned around here so it can be an asset to the rest of the team?
I thought about that question, so I'm glad you asked it. The thing about, I think the building blocks are here. The foundation of players is here. So like I said, those players that I named off, I'm really excited about. And I think that really, for me, it's about building a really strong foundation of techniques and fundamentals. Like, we're going to master the basics. We're going to be fundamentally and technically sound, and then we'll build from there. And then, so it goes by phase now. So it'll be, we'll start with coverage, and we'll drill that down, and then we'll go to pump protection, drill that down, return phases, drill that down. So it's just going to be a lot of drill work to start and mastering techniques and fundamentals, and then going from there. But in terms of the players, I believe in a lot of when I went through the interview process, I got fired up about the players that we have here, and then we're obviously going to add more as we go through free agency and in the draft. So for me, it's about mastering the basics. Yeah.
Has Rich had on you? You've been with him since all the way back as a player in Tampa. Just how has he sort of molded you and as a coach in your philosophy towards special?
Oh, yeah, Rich, it starts and ends with Rich. Now, I spent 10 years as a coach for Rich as his assistant, and I spent 3 years as a player for Rich. So everything I really know starts with Rich. And one thing about Rich is that he is a master at making connections with players. And he is the best leader of men that I've ever been around. So first and foremost, he taught me how to be a leader and how to connect with players, because it's all about the players. The other thing about Rich is, Rich now, when I first got with him, he does everything by hand. Now, he drew all of his stuff. The first way I helped him was just put all of his stuff on the computer. And then that was the first thing I did, helping him get his scouting report on computer, playbook on computer. And as I went through that, I read all of his notes. I took copious amount of notes in his meetings, and I transferred all that into a playbook and scouting report. And then as I got further along the line with Rich, he let me run drills and run meetings, and then put a practice plan together, put an install plan together, evaluate players. And so I think it all came to a head really in 2021 when he became the interim head coach. That's when I really got a chance to see what this job really is, because he was the head coach now. So I took on a lot of responsibility from Rich during that time in terms of getting in front of the team, presenting the keys to victory, putting the plan together, script and practice, coaching every day, making the corrections in the meeting room. So I feel like that experience with Rich in 2021, and then Matt LaFleur did a great job too of giving the opportunity to get in front of the team and presenting in front of the team. Some of the things we do a ball meeting we did a ball meeting every week. So he gave me the opportunity to get in front of the guys, and then being with Rich for over 10 years, little things would come up, and I think last year he had kidney stones on a Friday, and we found out at like 5 a.m. It's like we didn't blink an eye, just hopped in there and ran the meeting and got ready for practice. And then Rich, who's a stud, made it back for practice. So really everything I know is from Rich, and that's all I have to say about that.
Surprised that he left Green Bay. I mean, did you know that was coming down? And would you ever think about maybe bringing him here as like a senior assistant to you or anything like that?
Well, that's the first thing I asked him after he resigned from Green Bay. I said, "Does that mean I get to bring you in as my consultant?" No, I think Rich actually took a job at Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. He did mention it to me, and it was kind of, it was kind of after I had already got the job in Cleveland, and he kind of said, I'm thinking about retiring. And he's like, "What do you think?" And I just said, "You know what, Coach, going through the process here in Cleveland and, and getting to know Todd Monken and Andrew Berry, and, Cleveland's where I want to be." And so, he did let me know about that, but I didn't know for sure if he was going to do it or not. It was kind of like in passing, like, this is what I'm thinking. But, he went back to work, so I thought, he's going to go back and run it back another year. So, but I wish Rich all the best. We stay in touch. We talk all the time. And so I always have him as a guy that I can call at any point in time and ask questions.
How can a special teams coach, and now you, help a kicker or a punter when they get into a slump when you haven't done that?
Okay, so I'm not a kicking coach, as I'll tell you guys that first and foremost. But one thing I'd like to do is I really study the player, okay? Study the player, and I ask him a ton of questions, okay? And we get together and decide, okay, this is what it should look like. This is what it should look like. And it's from him telling me, this is what it should look like. This is this is the contact I'm looking for. This is the finish I'm looking for. This is how I should hold the ball, or this is how my foot should be, my angle, my approach, angles, all those different things. He tells me what's good, okay, how it should look when he gets the results that he wants, and then I hold them to that standard. So that's what I do, and then I'm not opposed to them if a lot of these guys already have kicking coaches already. So if they want to talk to their kicking coach, I have no problem with that.
Just reading your bio, was curious about those handful of years you stepped away from coaching and went back to your family business. Like, how did that change your life and taking that sort of sabbatical? And when you came back, how was it different?
Okay, so my story was, I talked to Dan about this earlier. I said I don't want to get too long-winded with this if I have to talk about it. But so I played 3 years, okay, and my career ended 2 knee injuries. And so I went up to Coach Rich Visage's office, and I said, hey, Coach, just want to let you know, thank you for the opportunity. It's probably the reason why I'm here is because of you. So, and I'm going to go business school. I might go work for the family business. And Rich said, hold on. What do you think about coaching? And so I got straight into in Tampa Bay. I finished playing. The year that I was on IR, I started writing the write-ups on players, and so I wouldn't go on the field and coach at all, but I'd do evaluations of our opponents and give them to Rich, and he would give them to the players. So I went into that, got a coaching job the next year in 2010, and then I had gone 4 years coaching. But you have to understand, I come from a 4th-generation bus family, okay? My great-grandfather started a bus company in 1952, okay? So, none of my family coaches, okay? So that, in my vision of, what I was going to do with my life, coaching was never what I saw for myself. And so my dad came to me in 2013. The 2013 season, we had a good year. I was at the San Diego Chargers, coaching on defense, actually, as an assistant linebackers coach under Joe Barry and John Pagano. Mike McCoy was the head coach. And my dad came to me and said, I'm opening a brand new branch of the business in San Francisco.
I was right, Gibby. Come on. That was Brown Special Teams Coordinator Byron Storr from his availability on Wednesday. When we come back, we do a little mailbag. A little mailbag here for you on a Football Friday. Hey, Bobby! Cleveland Browns Daily presented by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today and get $50 in bonus bets when you place your first wager of $10 or more. Ballybet, an official sports betting partner of the Cleveland Browns. Let's bring in Gibbe. Let's bring in Dr. J and young Gabriel. It's time for a little mailbag. Get your questions in. Apparently, Gibbe, you said you've got questions and you're excited about them. So am I.
There we go. Bobby's first question I
Bobby.
can't ask. Thanks, Bobby. Totally threw a wrench into that.
Hey, Bobby.
I can't ask the second one either. Number 3, we'll try. Which animal will be the worst coworker and why?
Which animal? A cat, because I'm allergic to them and I hate them. Sorry, cat people.
No, I
Not
hate
sorry.
cats.
Super allergic to them. And when you as a species, the best compliment that somebody can give to a cat is that it's like a dog. Just get a dog.
That's right. What food would make the absolute worst candle scent? That's a good one. There you go, Bobby.
What food? Egg salad. Or a hard-boiled egg. Just a hard-boiled egg. Sulfur.
They're awful. We do
Ugh.
hard-boiled eggs because my wife and my father-in-law love them.
Ugh.
I open the container and nothing like dry heaving. It's 7:05
I'm having a visceral reaction.
in the morning. There you go. If you had to replace your hands with something from a kitchen, what are you choosing? G-Man said scissors. Easy, Edward Scissorhands.
If I had to replace
Powder.
my hands with something from the kitchen,
Yeah. G-Man said hot dogs.
no. I mean, I originally thought like if it has to be a kitchen
A utensil.
a utensil, then I probably tongs because then I could still like grab stuff. But I was thinking, what about this is in my kitchen, a 5-fingered oven mitt?
I guess that's not
like
really
a
a
hand
fun
then.
answer for this.
I'm trying to be functional here, dude. My hands are gone. I think tongs would have to be the right answer. Or maybe like a one-hand tong, one-hand ladle, so I could just like ladle and scoop pasta or soup into my mouth.
Okay.
I might need it to be a tong and a spoon. You might have to have a spoon. How else? How else are you going to hold a spoon? With your toes?
I think the spoon is like connected to your body.
Yeah, like instead of a hand, you have a spoon.
Yeah.
This is a weird one, Bobby. I'm not gonna lie.
You can only listen to one song for the rest of the year. What are you picking?
For the rest of the year,
Yeah.
that's a really tough one. It's probably got to be like a wrestling theme because it's something like, or something instrumental where I'm just like feeling the vibe.
Okay.
I don't think it could be that song with lyrics. I think I'd get like, you'd eventually get sick of it. Maybe Roman Reigns' theme. It's a good one. That always gets me juiced in the gym.
There you go.
The Game of Thrones theme. Last of the Mohicans theme.
This is an interesting one from Trey Carey. Would we win the Super Bowl with 53 Myles Garretts?
No.
No.
You have to score. Like if they were the Myles Garrett of their position, then yeah, we'd go undefeated.
No. Like if we cloned Myles Garrett 53 times,
Somebody has to play offense.
he would play running back. Myles Garrett would hand off to Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett is a supreme athlete, but like I do think that it would be tough. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Could 5 Myles Garretts blow every defensive line off the ball?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. At some point, they're going to throw some like 380-pound just like space eaters out there, and I feel like that would be hard, as strong and gifted as he is. Like if he was...
I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think if you had 53 Myles Garretts at their respective positions, you'd never lose.
If you had to set, this is from the CLE fan in Chi-Town.
This is your burner. What do you
That's
mean?
right.
This is... I don't know who that is. Just, you stumble reading it. Very believable.
If you had to set the line, don't choke, Jade. Don't choke, Dr. J. If you
What's going on in there?
They've all gone mad.
Yeah.
Everybody. If you had to set the line for a number of transactions next week, where would you put it? More trade? Well, forget about that. More trades or free agent signings?
Say that again.
More trades or free agent signings for the Browns next week?
Of course there's going to be more free agent signings.
What about in the NFL?
Of course there's going to be more free. Every time somebody signs a contract.
I
there's
don't
free
know.
signing.
I'm just asking the question.
Okay.
It's from my burner.
Your burner, I'm not surprised.
Bobby says tongs on the left, spoon on the right.
By the
Iron
way,
Will.
hold on. Can I just jump in real fast? I don't know if you guys know this, but Logan Paul and Le'Veon Bell have agreed to terms on a boxing match, 10-ounce gloves, no headgear, 3-minute rounds until someone quits.
Perfect.
This is really happening.
Perfect. Nothing but positive things can happen there on a number of different levels. Shout out to Jack Janko. He just got his license. Can I get breaking news? Shout out to the Near West Side's newest driver who just aced
Congrats.
it.
Yes, you
Perfect
can.
score. Good job. Well done. Well done, kid. Real quick, because we have to go to break now.
Okay.
Iron Will, top 2 meals from the cafeteria downstairs.
Ever?
I'm assuming.
I still go back to that one time. That one split pea soup was just with the smoked ham in it was just a revelation. It was incredible.
It's the top of the soup.
That was unbelievable. They've had some great smoked
We had
meats.
elk.
Elk was very good. Sure. Yeah, we've had a lot of good stuff.
LaBelle, Holly, they're awesome. All right, we got to go to break.
Yep.
Cynthia Freeland next.
Cynthia Freeland is next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Time now to head back to Indianapolis to the Combine. I got to sit down with NFL Network analyst and analytics expert Cynthia Freeland. Take a listen. One of the great treats at the Combine, we had talked to our old friend Cynthia Freeland,
Hi.
the most baddest amazing person on planet Earth. That's the official title these days. How are you doing? And welcome to Indy. What's going on?
You know, I'm glad. Like, it's so strange. Like, they redid this whole area.
What do you
year.
think about it? Your review.
It's not as cozy.
Agreed.
It feels very far apart. So I'm weirded out by it, if I'm honest with you.
Our view, by the way, spectacular. A
There's like
a beige painted brick
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah. Well, if you needed to get out, you'd be the
That's the
emergency
one
exit's
thing.
right there.
We're right there. So yes, in the event, and by the way, that's actually turned out to be a pretty good thing because
Yeah.
you know, you walk through here. I'm
Yeah,
sure
this
you're
place is
getting
crazy.
grabbed. This is why you have your henchmen with you to protect you and shield you from
No,
all the
I just am
requests.
terrible at time. That's his job.
He's
Time.
good at.
Yeah.
Well, we go out here so we can go down there without being.
Smart.
Yeah, sometimes
Smart.
Yeah, sometimes,
That's brilliant.
Yeah, well, we do what we can. We got to make it work here. When you come to this year's Combine, what in your mind is the thing that you're most excited to learn, study, see? Maybe it's even a person to talk to, present company excluded. Obviously it's too
I'm
much of a layup.
right here.
Right. Duh.
But no, it's interesting because I think we've talked about it before how, I hate the transfer portal. But we're now seeing transfer portal meets NIL meets draft. So this is the first time, and by the way, 10 new head coaches on top of all of that.
Including ours.
Correct. So the question is how am I looking at this resume of college experience? And it's sometimes looks like pew, 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 pew over here. And then seeing how playbooks have thinned out because if your quarterback moves or your whatever, if people keep shifting around so much, you're not getting into deeper plays in the playbook. So it's a thinner playbook. They've been in college longer. So some of these guys are downright old for the
Yeah,
Combine.
that's
I mean,
right.
listen, back in my day,
Yeah, that's right.
when we had to sit out a year if you tried to move different school, whatever, that was so different. So when you're looking at the ages with the thin resumes, I don't know how these 10 new head coaches are evaluating everyone because it feels like it's a whole new world, right? It's a totally different, I feel like it's just so strange.
So what's interesting, so we talked with Glenn Cook, our assistant general
Oh,
manager.
Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn.
Oh,
great
I
guy.
love Glenn. You know that I love Glenn, right?
I do now.
Glenn is.
The world knows.
Glenn is fake angry. He has a
That's good. Yeah.
Don't tell anyone that I'm saying this. No, it's just between us. But he's a very stoic. He's super
Oh, yes.
smart, very stoic. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing because eventually he deserves to be a GM.
Yes.
So he's making sure. But he is hilarious. He's just hilarious.
Oh, we love
and
Glenn.
and he's also the nicest person ever.
He is a great guy.
He feels like a big brother to me.
He's so friendly that you could be walking in St. Elmo's. You never know who he's going to be sitting with because he's just
Truly.
friend to all.
Truly.
Gibby
he's
loves
sitting.
that. So I was talking to Glenn about it. We actually talked to Coach Munkin about it.
Yep.
We've talked to. It's actually been a topic, and I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of people have been talking about that. And there's maybe a couple schools of thought. The one is now with NIL, you understand. Okay, how does money affect these kids? You actually get a better idea of. Okay, we've seen some of these kids get 7 figures.
Right.
Do they still have the hunger? Do they still,
There's a lot more bling in the earrings here.
Oh, yeah.
These kids, I've been looking at the prospects. I've never seen so many earrings.
My lobes are pure.
I have little ones. I have little
Yeah.
chips compared to these kids.
Seriously, it must be nice. Must be nice.
know.
So there's that aspect of it. Then you can see how quickly, if you have, and we have kids that are, 1 year in this school, the next year in this
Yep.
school, and the third year in
Yep.
the third school. How do they handle coming into new locker rooms? And it gives actually the scouts, what Glenn was saying is you now have multiple touch points of opinion because
Right.
sometimes when somebody's coming through one program
Sure.
the whole time, they want to pump that up, right? They
Sure.
want our program to be
Right.
good. So
Right.
he thinks there is some more information, but at the same time, you don't get to see them develop in one
That's right.
system and see what that looks like. So
That's right.
it's almost a new era of scouting and trying to really understand who these kids are.
Totally different stuff. And I will say, and this is a little off track, but I like it. I will say one of the things I've noticed though is you do get a better, you can judge their emotional foundation a little bit better because the ones who look you in the eye and talk to you are now fewer and far between, but they stand out. And the guys who are really good stand out because they did develop in a system. They did get better every season. They do so that used to be par for the course. They all
Totally.
look at you in the eye. Now, now you're okay, well, I know you have figured out how to at least play this game.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the rest of it
What it
means,
is,
but
but yes.
at least you figured out how to play this recruiting game.
When you think about kind of the quarterback position, that's
Yep.
obviously the big one in the
Yep.
NFL. This is a draft by most accounts is, Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1. You can
Pretty sure
write
about that.
down.
I just did talk to the Raiders, and they were like, I think he already bought a house in Henderson. I'm like, they were joking, but
Fantastic. Great spot to be. Lots of good golf out there. I mean, he could. It's certainly in play. But then after that, this is a class, some people like Ty Simpson, but we'll see where that all shakes
Sure.
out as we go
Sure.
through it. But, the real question is going to be, what is Malik Willis, who has a very small sample size, and I know you are very much into the numbers and,
Yep.
and the analytics and the stats and all of that. He's going to be the top free agent quarterback. Then you've got Kyler Murray, who is likely to at some point hit the market.
yes.
How do you kind of see this quarterback landscape? And to you, what are the big dominoes and maybe how you could see this shake out?
Where's Mac Jones go? Because that's the other one I care about.
So that's an interesting one. If I'm the Niners, if
Yep.
I'm Kyle and John Lynch, right, I saw what he could do in my system. Now,
Yep.
if I'm the rest of the league, I said, oh, just like Sam Darnold went to Kyle finishing
Yep.
school and then came out of
Yep.
there, and, oh, man, he's pretty darn good.
Yep.
Can Mac Jones be that next guy, right?
Yep.
I think even if he doesn't play this year, if they let him walk, somebody's going to give him a good contract. So to me, he's going to bring in a compensatory third when he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So don't you think it starts then in the second if you want him now?
You'd think so.
And will somebody give a second for Mac Jones?
I think they might.
You think they might?
There aren't 32 guys that are able to play this game.
It's a problem. I know. We're on our search. We hope obviously DeShaun Watson
right.
can recapture his past glory. We hope that, Shedeur Sanders, we saw some good, some not so good, that maybe the not so good goes away and the good
Sure.
goes there. But yeah, that's the whole quest in the league.
But even some team, I mean, is Kirk Cousins okay now? What happens with that?
And he played very well at the end of the year.
Right. And what about Tua? We didn't even talk about Tua. Does
Tua's
he go to
another one.
Atlanta?
That would be interesting.
I think we could see some crazy wave of free agency. These moves could be totally bananas. But I think the Malik Willis one is a little scary for me. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, when you look at it, and every time he's played it with Green Bay, with Matt LaFleur,
Sure.
it's looked good.
Yep.
But we haven't seen a game where he's aired it out, I don't even think 34 times. We haven't seen, I think, 6 starts.
Yep.
And somebody's going to give him 30+ million.
Absolutely there.
Yeah, so
Absolutely there.
What do you like about it? What makes you nervous? Because you said you're a little nervous. Just a lack of sample size?
I think I don't have enough information on his decision making. So I actually have more information on Cam Ward's decision making, and it's better. It's more positive than it looked. He got clobbered.
I thought he was quite good by the end of the year.
He got better every single game. I mean, the poor kid was under so much duress. Please just get the ball out fast. Whatever. But my point is I with a rookie who's played one season, I have more information on him than Malik Willis. It's just a little confusing. I mean, do we see Arizona? I mean, there is a LaFleur connection there. I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious to see how.
I think
it works.
they got Jeff Halfley. Everybody from Green Bay's now in Miami. I can see
know.
Miami go after him.
I love Jeff Halfley.
Me
but
too.
Yeah, I went to BC, so
He was our DB coach in 2014. He was on that Mike Pettin staff that is basically coaching the league now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. So, but you're looking at there's so many different areas that I'm curious to see. It will depend entirely on who's around him, to me, and entirely on you can't. He needs an O-line. I know he's a capable runner, but he needs everyone.
Everybody needs it. Yeah. Listen, we're looking at potentially 5 new starters on our offensive line. That is going to be a big one for us. Just kind of Brown's big picture, high level. I know you keep tabs on us all the time.
Of course.
Todd Monken coming in. Defense was excellent. Obviously, Jim Schwartz gone, but the whole staff intact. They bring in Rutenberg, going to run a very similar style system to what they had, but every position coach remains the same, which I think is good connective tissue for the players. If this team can just get to middle of the league on offense, we've got a shot, right?
Absolutely. If you can have stability on offense, it doesn't need to be top 5. It doesn't. Look at the Broncos. Do you remember that Broncos-Jets game that was played in England? I was so sad we exported that to them. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's a horrible game. Then they were almost playing for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Not because they had this offense that was lighting the world on fire, because they had an offense that was serviceable.
And they did enough in the fourth quarter.
Sure, but he didn't take negative plays.
Right.
Bo Nix did not that was his biggest strength, was that he didn't do the bad mistake. often.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't take the sacks. Sean Payton said ahead of the season that if he didn't take sacks, that their defense would win them a Super Bowl. And everyone was like, what a crazy thing to say. And he was almost right. He was like one ankle injury away from being right.
He was, and maybe some
So-
field goal decisions. So you love to dabble in this world.
Yeah.
What do you make of the trend in fourth down field versus field goals? And I know that to me, numbers and the added win expectancy of added win value, all that,
Sure.
that makes a lot of sense. But sometimes 3 points is a lot.
Right.
It's 3 more than 0.
Yeah, I don't, there's no like, analytics overlord that's like, don't kick the field goal. Like, that's not how this works, right? And a lot of teams, it's their identity. So if you look at the Lions with Dan Campbell, it wasn't necessarily the right analytics decision to go for it as much as they did, but they chose to do that, and that was who they were, and they practiced it, and they felt comfortable with it. So psychologically, there was an added, right? So they did it. Now, it stopped working, and they kept doing it. That's where things get a little dicey.
Well, you go back to the NFC Championship game against the Niners 2 years ago for
dear
them.
God, do we have to?
I grew up in the Bay Area, so I
get
still,
it. I get it.
I'm a fan of the Niners, but yeah, you look at that and you're just like,
but you mess with your identity, and like
of course,
things go poorly.
Live
right?
by the sword, die by the sword.
Right. But ultimately, you need to have a few plays that are like, if you're the Eagles and you have the tush push, whatever your feelings are on it, but you have that play, you have that O-line, you have the people who could actually execute the play, which is way easier said than done.
Yeah,
you can't just
clearly.
like run that
Nobody
play.
else does it.
Nobody else can. Then it does actually give you an advantage because you are winning those. You have an, like, so 3rd down and 4 becomes like 3rd and 2 because you could get that anyways. But the point is
they're starting the Eagles really started 1st down and 8.5.
That's right. That's right.
15% advantage. I mean, that's
exactly
significant.
Exactly. So it's really all about like the everything working together. So to me, I don't think there's one answer, and I also don't know because I'm not the coach. But like, I hate on TV when they're like, the analytics say to go for it. Like, did someone playing? Did Myles Garrett just crush my left tackle? Because probably shouldn't go for 2 if my left tackle's like not necessarily okay, right? Like, so there are reasons not to. You need to create a structure so you know if you're doing the high probability or the low probability thing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't sometimes pick the low probability thing, but it's knowing you're on a map. If you don't know where you are, you can't figure out which way this map goes, right?
And the other thing that I'm sure is frustrating for you, but sometimes this discourse around these things are so outcome biased.
God.
It's not necessarily
right.
I always say to people, you go to a casino,
right?
You're playing blackjack, obviously off season, not an NFL trip.
What are you talking about? Compliance training, Sabrina Perel. I'm always on it.
We just did a lot of compliance training, by the way. The last 2 weeks were really heavy compliance training.
Yep.
But you go and you're playing blackjack, and the dealer shows a 6, and you've got 11. You're going to double down. That is how you get the odds in your favor. Now, that doesn't guarantee you win that hand.
No.
But it still was the right decision, even if you lose the hand.
But you have a framework. That's your framework, right? If you didn't know, if you were a newbie and you'd never played blackjack before, and the dealer showed 6 and you had 11, you'd be like, what? You wouldn't know.
Right.
But you wouldn't know you were making a high probability decision. You could make that decision, but if you don't know the reason why you did something, you can't figure out where in your line of reasoning you either went right or went wrong.
For sure.
Right? So it's like that's where people get
But that's why it becomes so
crazy.
outcome biased, because they're
Right.
not thinking about the process that led to the decision. They're just looking at the result.
That's right. It drives me bonkers.
I know. I
like,
bet it does.
The analytics say, I'm like, who? Who's this analytics overlord? Can I meet them?
You would probably break
me,
bread, have a
actually.
great time. It might be you. There it is. So we start off with the most awesomest, baddest woman on the planet.
He asked me how I wanted to be introduced, and that's what I said as a joke. But whatever.
But we're going to close it with, we've enjoyed spending our time with the analytics overlord, Cynthia Freeland. Well, there it is. That was a good time. Good time. Cynthia Freeland at the Combine. Next week. Do things start next week?
Legal tampering.
Monday, baby. Rest up this weekend, folks. Legal tampering is coming to town. Santa's got a brand new bag.
30.
On behalf of Gibbe, on behalf of Dr. J, on behalf of Young Gabriel, and on behalf of Bo Bishop, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, I'm Nathan Zagura saying thank you for listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland.